Welcome back, Billiken fans. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. This is the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons. Make sure you get every episode pushed to your YouTube account. This episode and the whole season of the Midtown Madness is brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. Not only is it Billiken season, but it's fall. And I can't think of a season that, salsa doesn't fit well in. And fall is a season. So, whether you like it mild or hot, chunky or cantina style, the people over at Two Men have you covered. You can pick up their many products at any local grocery stores or online at twomeninthegarden.com. Follow them on Twitter and Instagram at Two Men Salsa. Pete. We have a dynasty on our hands. You know what? I think I'm going to make a statement right now. Katie Shields is the greatest coach SLU has ever hired.
So you're talking all sports, all time.
All sports, all time.
Wow. That's a big statement there, Zach.
The reason, and I'd have to go back and refresh on men's soccer head coaches because I don't know, because I feel like they had what Gelker was kind of the main one. But again, you're talking about it's like playing. I feel like that's like having the best pickleball team in the country back then, right? It's an up and coming sport. It's not. There's not a lot of people playing it. Easier to get Scott. I think with the amount of teams in Division I, the amount of talent nationwide, I think Katie Shields has done more for women's soccer than any coach in Billiken history has done for a sport.
Wow. Certainly, I think that's fair to say in the modern era. 5 conference titles in a row. I guess, what is that? 4 regular season plus the 5 conference tournaments in a row is pretty spectacular.
I don't know if you tell me if you say that's what the basketball team did, it's a no-brainer, right?
Right.
So
that would be, think of how we would feel if we won the next 5 A10 tournaments and 4 of the next 5 regular seasons. That would be, we'd be incredible.
I have a horribly not safe for work expression for what I would be doing if that, I can't fathom it. The Billikens are up to number 8, and we're talking women's soccer. We're going to open up with women's soccer. Why? Because they're champions. Yeah. And we love champions. Women's soccer, RPI number 8, up 1 spot from 89 as of October 30th. This team, scary good around Halloween.
They are, yeah. Up, like you said, up 1 spot from number 9 in the RPI, and that number 8 is important. That's a crucial number to keep in mind as we head into the NCAA selection show tomorrow. It's going to be the difference between, potentially a 2 seed and a 3 seed. SLU looks like it's right on the line right now with that RPI. Now, that's as of a week ago. Lots happened in the week since then. Would love to see this team slide into a 2 seed, and we'll get into that more later as we kind of go through these games and what they accomplished this week. But also in the rankings, Zach, they're number 10 in the coaches poll, which I believe you and I think is a little low. Number 5 by College Soccer News. Number 10, Top Drawer Soccer. No change in any of those from the previous week. So they've held the line there, and all they've done since then is win 2 games.
Yeah. 2-0 win. Not only have they won 2 straight games, they haven't given up a goal in 3. And among the 3 games in the A10 tournament, they essentially won 9-0, which is essentially 3 forfeits. It's literally, they won as if these 3 teams did not show up. And I'm not that's not me taking away from the Billikens' accomplishment at all. That's just I'm saying that's how many goals they beat these teams by. A 2-0 win versus 6 seed St. Joe's in the A10 semifinal on Wednesday. This was a much better game from St. Joe's than the previous week, Pete.
Yeah, much better. They were way more aggressive. They didn't look scared. They won a lot more 50-50 balls. They were just quicker, more aggressive getting to the ball. And I thought their goalie, Katie Capoletti, kind of stood out in particular. I thought the defense overall was good. But she alone saved this from being a bigger win. That first game against St. Joe's, SLU getting those two early goals, I think it was the 3rd and 5th minute. They just were completely defeated. I mean, you could just see it. It was over. This one, SLU gets one early, but to St. Joe's credit, they did not give up at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, like the PKs, I thought one of them might have been soft, but again, the Billikens get 2 PKs in this one. Abby Miller in the 6th minute gets a PK. It's got to be, just demoralizing to a 6 seed. You're starting off the game on the front foot. You're really putting some pressure on the Billikens. They looked dangerous. And for them to give up a PK in the 6th minute, that's okay. That's
Right.
it. Because,
Yeah,
the Billikens don't miss on PKs.
right. And it is demoralizing, but Caroline Kelly is just so dangerous when she gets in deep. She was taken down from behind. She was coming off a long ball. I thought it wasn't like a no doubter like card or anything like that, but a foul's a foul. It was in the box and they didn't really have any choice but to give it, I don't think. And then Abby Miller just kind of coolly put it away. So yeah, SLU's on the board 1-0, but that was the only goal for a long time, Zach.
Yeah, it was not until the 71st minute. Not a single goal in the run of play in this game. Caroline Kelly takes and makes a penalty kick, Pete.
Yeah, this time it was her again drawing the foul in the box, and she got to take it herself this time. The keeper actually read it correctly and got a good piece of it, but luckily she hit it hard enough that it still ended up in the top right corner. So, like you said, they don't really miss on these, and those were both really well struck. So it was impressive for her to she got to do it herself this time. I don't know what all goes in the decision making process, like who takes it on any given one, but there's got to be like an extra level of pride when it's like the foul that you drew.
Yeah, I think there used to be some sort of like superstition out there in soccer that the person that draws the foul never takes the PK. It's
Yeah.
just bad luck or something. I don't know. While St. Joe's did play a better game in this one, the Billikens certainly could have been called dominant. Shots were 22 for the Billikens, 5 for St. Joe's. 14 of the SLU shots came in the second half, and a lot of those were actually after the second goal here.
Yeah, and this is where I say Capoletti kept him in that because she had 5 saves in the second half, 8 in the game, which I mean that's a pretty big number for a game that was just 2-0. SLU putting 10 shots on goal to St. Joe's 3. So yeah, it sounds like those numbers are kind of imbalanced, but that really ran up in the last 20 minutes or so as St. Joe's had to get a little more desperate to try and score, and the field got stretched out a little bit, and SLU found themselves open a lot more. They played a really solid game overall, St. Joe's, compared to what we had seen from them before. But SLU still ended up with the edge in shots, like you said. Corners were 9-0 SLU, and then not many fouls in this game. Only 4 for SLU, 6 for St. Joe's. Pretty clean game, and yeah, it really was not the kind of blowout that we may have expected after the last time we saw St. Joe's, but I don't think SLU took anything for granted in this one and just played a solid game to take care of business.
Yeah, you mentioned Capoletti. She took home all tournament team honors in this one, rightfully so.
Yeah.
There was, obviously there's always going to be talk about Piriselli anytime she's left off a list. Unfortunately, she just gets penalized because her back line is stellar.
Yeah.
4-0 Billiken win today. When you hear this, it'll be yesterday. 2 seed Dayton in the final at Herman on Sunday the 6th. It's Sunday finals, man. This team just wins. This game was, again, they dominated them. This was a game we were a little cautious about, I think, in the lead up because of the 2-1 win at Dayton, but they showed that being back at Herman where they know the field better than anyone else. 4-0.
This had I guess trap game written all over it too. I mean, this is, when I was looking at everything going into this game, it's like not only as you just referred to, a 2-1 kind of close game at Dayton. So we know this is the number 2 seed for a good reason. They're a good team, along with probably VCU, the best other teams in the league that we play this year. They know SLU better than any other team in the league. They've played, well, because of that weird COVID season where they played 4 times. And then most other seasons recently, they've played twice because they see him once in the regular season and usually run into him in the tournament. It's just kind of how it's worked out. SLU had won the last 10 against Dayton heading into this one. And every time we face Dayton now, I kind of get nervous. Like, for the number 2 team in the league to lose 10 straight to the top team, I just always feel like, is this the day they've got our number? Is this the day? Is this the day? Today was not the day.
No, it was not.
For all of those trap game potential factors there, it just didn't work out that way at all. SLU was incredible in this game, Zach. I know you were there in person. I was watching on my phone as I was cleaning the house, and I had to stop a lot to watch what was going on in this one.
Yeah, this one was fun. I think when you talk about the trap game and a lot of what I have kind of been tweeting on our social media has been kind of a lot of pregame stuff. And I really think that the Billikens owe the way they come out in these kind of games where not necessarily, I don't even know if this isn't really a trap game. St. Joe's could have been a trap game, but like the even trap game versus high pressure conference final, the vibes are still, they're upbeat. They're, having fun. They're doing, their handshakes and their, all that kind of stuff. And they're just enjoying the pregame music and they're having fun. They're watching Ismail up at the camera booth dancing. Like they're like, they're interacting with it. It's just this team has this like, we've been here before, whatever kind of feel, but in a good way.
No, you're right. I mean, they do a good job of kind of staying and seeming loose before games.
Yes.
Which is
St.
something...
Joe's was all business on Wednesday night, and Dayton had a little bounce. But SLU just, I mean, you got when they're at home, they're in their element. They are just, they know how to handle the moment.
They do. And there was part of me that wondered, given that I thought this was kind of a trap game, how does that change the mindset going into the NCAA tournament now? Like they're still carrying the longest winning streak in the country by far. It's up to 18 now.
I think so.
They've got the most wins in the country, the most goals in the country. And yeah, you can say all you want about the teams that are in the ACC, SEC, Pac-12, playing those other top level teams every week. All SLU can do is beat the teams in front of them. And they've done that. And I don't care what conference you're coming from, to win 20 out of 21 games in a regular season is incredible.
Yeah. And to win your conference tournament without conceding a goal.
Yes.
In the last 2 games, 11 shots they allowed on 11 shots on goal in the last 2 games. And I think the game before was 0. It's a great guess.
But now you're you're getting everybody's best shot too.
Yes.
Like these teams aren't just rolling over. Like as the season goes on, our schedule got a little bit
pissed
tougher,
off,
and teams are getting a second shot at them in the tournament. Not to mention, I mean, Dayton being their natural rival. It's just
and Katie
this is not an easy thing to do.
Katie Houck transferring out of Dayton to SLU, like that's insult to injury at this point. Again, I think we talked about it in the offseason. But let's get down to brass tacks in this game. 20th minute, Hannah Larson assisted from Emily Grork.
Yeah.
This one bounced around a little bit, and I didn't know. I thought the keeper should have had it, but I didn't know what you saw from the TV.
It was a play that looked like it had been broken up. Luckily Larson got a second shot at it because her first one was deflected, wound up at the feet of a Dayton defender. It looked like it was going to get out of there and bounced around a little bit. And finally it wound up at Groark's feet, who put it back to Larson and gave her a second chance. And I bet that Dayton goalkeeper wishes she had a second chance at this one too, because it wasn't struck all that hard. She just kind of tucked it in the near corner, and Dayton's goalie got a lot of it. And so it's definitely one of those where she's kicking herself after that play, probably something she would have stopped 4 out of 5 times. But luckily Larson put just enough on it to get it in there. Yeah, to me it looks like, SLU creates a lot of these kind of opportunities. They get some bodies in front of the net. They create a lot inside the box. But it just looked like a routine broken up play. We'll get them next time. So I was really surprised we came away with a goal on that play, actually.
42nd minute, the Diego Costa of St. Louis University women's soccer, Emily Gaby, gets the Billikens on the board. She got in on net on a beautiful ball from Hannah Sawyer.
That was an incredible ball. It was almost like, you say Diego Costa, it was like watching Man City and watching Kevin De Bruyne hit Holland streaking up the middle. It's like as soon as KDB gets the ball kind of an attacking mid position when he's got some room in front of him, you just see Holland put his head down and run. Like he doesn't look back, nothing. He just knows the ball's going to get to him. And Gaby here did that same thing. I mean, she went on a run. She saw it coming together and put her head down and ran, and the ball got to her. Like you said, beautiful ball. 2 Dayton defenders to beat. It was basically a 1-on-2, but Gaby just kind of split the middle. And then I love, she puts her arm out to the right a little bit. And it was just kind of like to give that other defender, like, nope, this is between me and the goalie now. You're done. You're done. This is between me and her. You're out of this play. And what else does Gaby do but score? And there it was. I was getting ready to, I was thinking, okay, 1-0 at halftime. I'll take it. That's going to be all right. And then this play, they kind of created out of nothing. And man, oh man, what a goal.
You mentioned Gaby making the runs all night or all day. And I swear around the 80th minute, she's looking over at the bench like, Katie, I've played more minutes in this game than I have all year.
Yeah.
Get me out of here. Like
she plays hard minutes.
I am making 20, 30-yard runs every 3 minutes. Like, what are we doing? Get somebody in here. Yeah. But she was phenomenal in this game. Hannah Frederick gets a goal in the 53rd minute. This one assisted from Emily Groark.
Yeah, this one was cool too. And really the main story on this one is I believe this gave Hannah Frederick the all-time SLU record for points. She just moved past Jamie Perry, who was there in my era. And so, yeah, she's now the all-time points leader with a chance to add to that in the NCAA tournament. So that was really the main story here for me. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, this one was probably the prettiest goal I thought of the game. Just an excellent run down the side and cut it back to the middle for an easy goal. Frederick's not going to miss from there ever.
No, she's not.
Caroline Kelly in the 86th minute, just to twist the dagger a little bit more.
Yeah, Hannah Larson had a big day here and sets up Kelly. By the time Kelly got this ball, there was nothing to do but score. She was probably 5 yards in front of the box and had all the room in the world. She did have one in the first half where she had kind of a similar, it was a little bit tougher ball, and just put it right at the goalie. I think she was a little bit further out, a little bit tougher angle. But you get her a second look like that in front of the net and she's not going to miss it. And it was 4-0, and that was that.
Go ahead and run us down the standing or the stats in this one.
So SLU outshot Dayton 19-8. Shots on goal were 10-2, which means Dayton had 6 saves on the day. Corners, Dayton actually had 4 to SLU's 3. I did notice we didn't have as many corners today, but didn't think they had more than us. Fouls, SLU 19 to Dayton 11, and SLU did have a yellow card. Heckel had one in the 70th. minute that I thought was, yeah, it was a foul, but a yellow I thought was a little hard. That was a little rough. And the fouls too were kind of interesting because the ref was definitely like, she warned Gaby in the first half at one point after she fouled somebody way deep in the left corner, down on the bench side. So yeah, it was definitely a physical game for some of our players. And like we said that game before, SLU has 4 fouls, an additional 15 in this one. They let them know. Attendance, Zach, was just about 2,900 people, and that's a great turnout for this game. It was a beautiful day. I mean, like, it looked like,
I thought it was cold as balls this morning, and then it got hot, and I'm wearing sweats and a jacket at the game. I'm always cold, and all of a sudden I am baking out there like a toasted cheeser.
yeah, but nonetheless, I mean, great crowd, and SLU absolutely delivered in this one. I mean,
Yes.
it made me think of unfortunately, the only loss this season, that Notre Dame game, was that it was the lightning delay game.
Yes.
And so you've got your biggest crowd of the season. Everybody's so hyped for this game, the biggest opponent of the year coming in. And you've got like an hour and a half lightning delay. And then, SLU never looked great in that game. Really
Dan
unfortunate.
Betlack had a line about that on the broadcast, didn't he? About how he's like jinxes things on the broadcast constantly. Like, it's like, we've never
Yes.
had a lightning delay, and
Yeah.
then they have a lightning delay.
He said, I've been doing this for 9 years and we've never had one. And then they had one. But
Yes.
today could not have been a nicer day. And so when you've got 3,000 people out there, to deliver this kind of performance against the number 2 seed in the conference, and win that 5th straight, just to underline that, 5th straight conference tournament.
Wait, hold on. Is it back to back to back to back to back A10
Yeah,
tournament championships? That's obscene.
it really is. I think it's harder to do to win the conference tournament so many consecutive years like that than to actually win the regular
I
season.
think so too.
As crazy as that sounds, because if you're the team that's already got that much talent, like, the conference tournament is just a different thing. It's you're going to lose games here and there in the regular season and still win the regular season, but you have to be perfect in a conference tournament that many years in a row. It's an amazing thing to do.
All tournament team, Pete. Lindsey Heckel scored twice for the Billikens in the early rounds, was named the most outstanding player of the championship. Grork, Larson, and Kelly also named. Stram, Hauk, and Halverson as well. And then obviously the 2 goalies for Dayton and St. Joe's, where that's the only other non-Billikens on the team.
Yeah, well, there were 3 Dayton players.
Oh yeah, we don't care.
And then the goalie from St. Joe's, Capoletti, and then it was
Oh yeah, Gamelli.
Rada. That's the goalie, right?
Yeah.
And then Bengino.
Okay.
From UD was also on there. So
yeah, they don't matter.
Right, but it was just like the regular season. 7 out of 11 spots went to SLU.
It's like we're allocated spots.
Yeah, capped at 7.
Yes. The selection show, Pete, 2:30 Central Time tomorrow. I believe they generally do it on NCAA.com. So yeah, that's where it's going to be. It's definitely taped, and then they just air it like it's a YouTube premiere, because it's weird how they do it.
Does it actually, so 2:30 St. Louis time, does it actually do they start naming teams at 2:30, or do they?
It's quick. It's pretty quick. They don't draw it out because it's not like a big TV show. It's just a show.
Okay. And where can we stream that?
NCAA.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's generally where they do it. But I think we did retweet Stu's tweet or somebody's tweet about where to watch it. So
where to watch it.
Yeah, it's STL Today, Sports News has a link out, and we retweeted. So did A10 women's soccer fans.
So do you how are you feeling here? Do you think we're going to get that 2 seed, or do you think it's going to be a 3? I mean, that's actually kind of a big difference in terms of
Yes,
that's
it is.
another round at home, like that's another
Yeah.
it's a huge deal because it is campus sites up until the Final Four, I believe.
Do I don't know. I wonder about that because we talk about, having momentum going into games. Sometimes, if you're that lower seed, uh, sometimes you've already played a game and you got your legs back under you from after that championship buildup. You've already
Mhm.
kind of settled back into what you need to do for the tournament. Um, so it's an intriguing scenario, and I would like to see them get a 2 seed. I think if anything, the past 5 years in the NCAA tournament kind of says they should.
Yeah.
I think you should get at this point. I think it's a legacy pick, and it should be. So we'll see tomorrow, and we've got a full day of Billiken Athletic related things
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we sure do.
Women's basketball 10 a.m. The selection show at 2:30, and then of course Billiken men's basketball in the evening. And speaking of Billiken men's basketball, we're bringing on Kai from 3ManWeave, who was part of the Field of 68's Almanac. He did the Billiken entry, and we interviewed him, and that's coming up right now. Billiken fans, now we welcome in co-founder of the 3ManWeave, Kai, who was tasked with the Billiken entry into the Field of 68, which explicitly puts the Billikens in third place in the A10 this season. Kai, what the hell?
I know. Well, hey, first of all, thanks for having me, guys.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Of course.
I'm from St. Louis, so the Bills are, somewhat in my part of my life growing up, we'll say. So I have a soft spot for SLU. Maybe I'm a little bit biased to where I put them third, just to kind of protect my heart a little bit, we'll say.
Okay.
Yeah,
So did you write up the whole A10 then?
I did. I did the whole A10. Yep.
Okay. So this third place is purely your choice.
It's just me.
All right.
I'm the guy you should be yelling at.
What about VCU? Do you think entices you more?
Defense.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah. What were they, top 5 last year in KenPom defensively? That's elite. And if you're elite on one side of the ball, I think that kind of trumps being pretty good on both ends, right? In defense, I think it's overlooked quite a bit. And VCU's got the track record of having a great defense every single year. SLU is very good on both ends, year in, year out. I just think the VCU elite defense gave them the bit of an edge for me.
I mean, they had multiple games last year where they scored like 40 something though, right?
Yeah, but they also have a guy, Jameer Watkins, coming back from injury.
Yeah.
They dealt with Ace Baldwin being out of the lineup first, 6 games last season, and they were a lot better offensively when he came back. So I expect sort of a bounce back offensively for them. Won't be as good as SLU on that end, but they're not going to be total crap either.
You mentioned a guy coming off of injury, and I gotta know, because you covered the entire A10. It feels like people are forgetting who Javante Perkins has been in the past.
Yeah, that's fair. I think we called him, or at least maybe Jim, one of my colleagues. He had him as a preseason All-American candidate 2 years ago before he hurt himself. Obviously had a lot of hype, and by all accounts, he's fully healthy coming into this year. So yeah, maybe people are sleeping on him a bit. Gibson Jimerson, he's probably not as good as he is right now if that didn't happen, that injury.
And he's gonna be better this season with the guy who can stop the other teams from molesting him for 40 minutes.
Is Perkins gonna like being not the guy all the time, 24/7, not having to score as much? I don't know his personality. I'm just asking you guys.
He seems a bit quiet. He seems like a soft-spoken dude. Like, I mean, I remember the videos coming up when I think they did a local story on him, and it just seemed like, shooting out in the playground hoop, very relaxed. So I don't think that'll bother him so much. I mean, emotionally, right? So
Right.
I guess what the question is, how does it affect his game not getting the ball constantly in his rhythm?
Yeah, what's the dynamic, right?
Yeah, that would probably be the better question. Um, it'll be interesting to see how teams defend the Billikens, right?
Yeah.
If at any given point you could have Yuri Collins, you could have Sincere Parker, Javante Perkins, and Gibson Jimerson all walking buckets on the court. Probably the worst defensive lineup you could throw out there.
Very true.
But
Often ignored too, right?
How do you think A10 teams would attack that?
Oh, I don't. They're going to score a ton. Their offense is going to be incredible. It just matters. Like I said, is there a clear pecking order? Is there a clear plan? I'm sure there is. But you've seen that before with guys with teams with too much talent, right? They're always good, but are they elite? Are they A10 champions, for instance? Is there enough sharing of the ball? I think there will be in SLU. I don't get the vibe that there's any of that. Collins is obviously a pretty unselfish player, leading the charge, and Ford, I think, called him the number one point guard in the country. So that's pretty high praise. Probably some coach speak a little bit there, but he is excellent. And then guys like Thatch and Hargrove, they know their roles. I'm not really worried about them either. Pickett as well. You guys, I went to Mizzou, so I got my own opinions on Pickett, but
hey, Pickett, I don't see it yet. I'm going to give him a chance to be grimy, gritty, hopefully a leader vocally, which I've heard great things about.
I'll give him that.
Yeah, so I want to talk about Yuri Collins because I want to get your take on it because I think that he's a great passer. I think he sees the floor incredibly well. I don't know if he has the floor general in him because I see the offense. The offense ran god awful without him against UNI and the NIT. It doesn't run great. I mean, he makes great passes that get easy buckets, but the offense specifically doesn't run great. Is that something you've noticed, or am I off base here?
No, I mean, you could be right. His turnover rate is sky high every year still. Like everyone looks at the assist numbers like, oh man, 8 assists per game. This guy's awesome. He had like a 30% turnover rate last year. That's terrible. That's like really, really bad. That's hurt your team type of bad. Overall, I think his ability outweighs his negatives, which is basically just turnovers. He's also a pretty good on-ball defender, I would say, just from third-party lens here. And he also improved his shooting last year. So I would say all that outweighs his turnover stuff. As a senior, though, I'm hoping he kind of reels that in a little bit and becomes a little more consistent.
So the optimist in me thinks having Perkins back in addition to Jimerson really changes a lot of that. What Zach and I have talked about a lot with Collins is that the offense gets bogged down when he tends to kind of over dribble or over penetrate. He gets in a little too deep. It's more like he's looking to make the last pass than just kind of move the ball around sometimes. But a lot of times last year, and Zach and I know this, Jimerson was having his jersey tugged. He was getting elbowed. He was getting pulled, hacked. He couldn't go anywhere, to use Zach's word, without getting molested all over the floor. Having Perkins back hopefully eases a lot of that, and not to mention gives Yuri a way bigger weapon in transition. But the other thing that I think people are overlooking this season, and I want to get your thoughts on this, is how much have you seen Sincere Parker play? Because in the limited views that we've had in exhibition or in some of the clips from our overseas tournament or few games a couple months ago, he can score a lot and he can score fast. He's not a good defender, but I think in addition to having Perkins back, Jimerson also has the benefit, and Collins has the benefit of having Parker there too to really get points.
I haven't watched a lot of them. I know his accolades. I know his first team all-American JUCO status. He's top 10 JUCO recruit by some people's opinions. Obviously scored a ton in college. I'd be curious if they play Collins and Parker together. Are they going to use Parker as a point guard, change of pace type of player? I guess you'd have to play them together since Collins plays so many minutes. That does leave you a little bit vulnerable if those two are in your backcourt, not a huge backcourt, right, on defense. But from all accounts, he's a really good scorer. It's just kind of unpredictable how JUCO guys do in year one coming to D1. Some guys are successful, but you see a lot more often than not. It takes a year or two. Chief example was Tyon Grant Foster or Gant Foster. Can't remember one or the other. He was the number one JUCO recruit, went to Kansas last year, 2 years ago. Didn't do anything, right? Just kind of flamed out. So it's kind of a crapshoot with these JUCO guys, even though they are really good at that level.
I think I think where Parker has the benefit is that he can sit behind Javante for 25, 30 minutes a game and then come in and get his off the bench, just be that instant offense. But I want to know, because you spoke with Travis Ford, actually. You did interview. And when you interview the coaches, how does that, what's your goal out of that?
I want insight on how they're going to play. I want like style notes. Now, not every coach gives it. It's mostly generic stuff sometimes. But I want to know like what their style is, play types, their goals, and obviously who's kind of being overlooked in the offseason, who people should be paying attention to. Travis said Fred Thatch pretty much immediately was the guy that he thought improved. Obviously last season came on at the end of the year, and this year he thinks is going to be pretty important for SLU this season.
And you list him as kind of your X factor for the team this year.
Yeah. And like I said, I think Hargrove is pretty much the same type of role guy as Thatch. And I think Pickett's kind of the same type of role guy. So you have three really, really solid guys that just do a little bit of everything. Don't need the ball in their hands, don't need to score. And that's really important. That's probably being overlooked the most on this SLU team, besides Perkins and Collins and Jefferson, all the talent.
I want to talk about, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking that we're overlooking it too, is the front court. The gluttony of guards for the Billikens, but we have decent depth in the front court. Okoro, Forrester, Momo, Cisse could come in if needed. What do you think? What do you see about Forrester? He's kind of a after the exhibition, we know a little bit more, but what do you know about him?
Is he an upgrade over Linson? Is the question. Is how I would frame that.
I don't know. I think he started a bit at Temple, if I'm not mistaken, and I think Ford told me he was surprised by how good he was in the offseason. So that's good facts. I believe he can. Can he shoot? I can't remember.
He can pass. He can really pass the ball, I think, Pete.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
That's what we were hearing out of the
Yeah, I don't think he's going to step out and shoot much, but the thing that kind of is coming in, like his numbers from previous seasons, his rebounding numbers, Linson was not a great rebounder. Really, really efficient, effective offensive player, good finisher, good free throw shooter, not a good rebounder really at either end. And I think that's something Ford has really emphasized going into this season, and I think that's something Forrester does better.
Yeah, and that's probably your replacement right there. I think Okoro is super solid. There's no arguments here. He's a beast on the boards, can protect the rim a little bit. Cisse, I don't know. I haven't really seen much of him. And then I know you guys have Daniel Rivera. I don't know anything about him really either. He's kind of a late signing.
He's out for the year now.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's a shame.
You're
going to play a lot of Perkins at the 4, which I think is great, honestly. But aside from that, maybe a little bit thin at the 5 spot. I guess you put Forrester at the 5 sometimes.
I don't think you can play Forrester and Okoro together. Not with as many guards as you have.
I don't think it'll be the same as before. We never saw Okoro on the floor at the same time as Linson, and I think that's going to continue. But I do think Pickett, and I have other friends who are Mizzou fans too, and I know it's been rough going recently for Mizzou fans.
Very.
When you think about Pickett and his size at about 6'7", 215, I do think that size projects a little bit differently in the A10 than it does in the SEC, because there's so much more size, athleticism, length in that conference than there is in the A10. So I think he actually could be, as kind of that combo forward, a little bit more, I don't want to say useful, but maybe effective 2 ways in the A10.
Yeah, I wouldn't give him 6'7". 6'5" is probably where he's at.
He's a big body Cadillac.
He's thick. He's really slow. He's really slow. like he's slow. Maybe he's gotten a fashion this offseason, but it looked like he was moving in molasses. Now, to his credit, Brad Underwood, after the Illinois game, Pickett plays really well against Illinois every single year. Underwood complimented him a ton. He said, Pickett's awesome. He would start for me, whatever. So he gave him a lot of praises. So if you trust one of the best coaches in basketball about Pickett, you're feeling pretty good. But most of the time we watched him at Mizzou, we were kind of scratching our heads wondering how this guy's even a D1 basketball player.
To be fair, you were scratching your heads wondering why that was a D1 basketball team.
That's very true.
Yeah, I mean, he still was what, like the second leading scorer on that team or something?
He might even been the leading scorer somehow. But he was shot like 20% from three.
Yeah.
He was 48% from two, and something like that. He's an okay defender. He works really hard. He's kind of like he's a team guy, right? He's a culture guy. So that's important. He's an intangible guy. I think he will do well at SLU, but I wouldn't expect like all A10 type of player from Pickett.
We're looking for. We'll take Goodwin light.
What's
and we'll take Jordan Goodwin light.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I guess that might be even too much to his credit, to be honest. But yeah, I'll give you that.
Well, to be fair, Jordan Goodwin light is really just like a walk on. Like without the intangibles,
like Goodwin.
Without the intangibles, Goodwin isn't much. I mean, he's great. He's a good player, but like the intangibles are Jordan Goodwin. He had a great day today, by the way.
Oh, he's in the NBA. How about that?
Yeah.
Impressive.
If you say you're talking to non-Billiken fans now, the Billikens have put together quite a non-conference slate of opponents. What game should be appointment viewing for the non-Billiken fan? That's going to be the best game, you think?
All right, let me pull up their schedule real quick.
Well, I could just give you the ones it's probably going to be.
I got it in front of me now.
Right.
Memphis, boom. That's the one.
Okay.
Memphis is the game. So I think you guys can make an at-large run right at the tournament. You got to beat Maryland. That's a key game, and I think you got to beat Memphis too.
Yes.
Those are the key games. I don't think you're going to beat Auburn.
No.
SIU is a sneaky game. Ooh, they're pretty good this year.
Are they?
Yeah, and watch out for them.
Did you preview the Valley as well?
I did, actually. Yeah.
So our first game's against Murray State, and that's a really hard game to kind of preview, which we're going to try and do our best after we talk to you. But with so many pieces from so many places coming together, I mean, do you have any kind of picture of what they're going to be this season?
They're just brand new team. They got one guy back from last year. Wasn't one of their top guys. He's kind of like a Pickett, we'll say. But Steve Prohm is a good coach. He's done really well at that program before. I think he even took them farther than McMahon did last season in the tournament. Flamed out at Iowa State, took a year off, became a media guy for a bit. But he's a good coach, so I wouldn't take him lightly. It's always a good program, and they're going to have talent. My SLU buddy actually is pretty confident in SLU winning or covering the spread in that game.
That's what I heard.
So, all right. SLU could be awesome. I could be totally – I thought I was high on SLU. I could be low on SLU, and in the public eye, they could be a top 25 team, I think.
I mean, it's been pretty much consensus has been that Dayton, SLU, and VCU are the top three.
Those are the top three.
You can kind of quibble with 2 and 3. I think more often than not, I've seen SLU as 2, and certainly that's how it came in the official conference preseason. Dayton seems to be coming out number 1 in all of them, and actually that kind of takes me to my next question is, how do you see SLU and Dayton matching up this year? And what in particular, I'm kind of wondering about the Okoro-Holmes matchup. Holmes has obviously got a lot of NBA scouts coming into their practices lately and looking at him, and he is truly a prospect. But I'm kind of wondering how do you feel about them coming into this season?
They're awesome, really, really good. They're not healthy though. Malachi Smith is hurt.
Right.
If he's out for an extended period of time, that changes everything. He is, an amazing point guard for them. I think they have a couple other guys out right now for various reasons as well. More so reserve pieces, but still kind of adds up after a while. I think SLU can go toe to toe with Dayton. I don't see them way behind them. I see them actually pretty close to even. All three of those teams I have pretty close to even, but Dayton's going to get the upper hand with the way they finished last season and returning their top 7 guys, whatever it is. And with the combination of Smith and Holmes were freshmen last year, the sophomore leap is always the biggest mover in college basketball, the breakout year everyone likes to talk about. And Holmes is what?
Not the Conklin Summer, though. The Conklin Summer.
Conklin Summer.
Conklin Summer.
That's a very specific reference.
I don't get that reference.
So we had a player, Brian Conklin, under Majerus, who from his junior to senior year just made a huge leap and became
He was
great.
a Pickett.
Gotta love that.
He
was a Pickett.
He was a Linson plus.
Nice.
So one of the things Zach and I have kind of talked about this a little bit is, and of course we get so much clapback from Dayton fans every time we mention this on Twitter or anything.
Yeah, the Arch Baron Cup, man, it's a rivalry.
It has become quite a rivalry, yeah. But so what? One of the points that I've made, because you just talk about the sophomore leap being a big one, and this whole roster, Dayton, is all sophomores, like literally the whole roster, 11 out of 13 guys. Now I know that's a little
third-year sophomores,
iffy because they have a number of redshirt sophomores, but regardless, they're all sophomores, and they've got more or less the same personnel as last year with one freshman and one transfer. They're kind of counting on all of those guys to continue to make progress, to make a leap year over year, which honestly just doesn't happen. Like there are always guys who kind of stall out a little bit, don't get the minutes they want, get hurt, whatever. Not everybody makes a jump their sophomore year. Whereas SLU, they're bringing back an older veteran core, and then they're bringing back a guy who was a preseason all-conference. He was conference player of the year. Who was out last season when we split with Dayton, by the way, and we were just behind them in the league in the end. And then you're bringing in, one of the top scorers in JUCO. You're bringing in a guy from Mizzou who is going to play a role there.
Pickett, yeah.
You're bringing in a big man from Temple. I guess my question is, why does everyone think that Dayton has a higher ceiling, given that they're just more or less the same team, whereas SLU actually has pieces that could, I think, give them kind of a higher ceiling?
Well, it's because of the age range of freshman and sophomore, the potential to jump, and also Dayton finished 2 games ahead of SLU last season in the A10.
Yeah, without Javante Perkins.
Without Javante Perkins, for sure. But it was a team full of freshmen for Dayton. They beat the national champions last year.
And
Kansas.
then rattled off 4 losses.
Yeah. Before that.
Whatever.
Yeah. They lost to those 3. Yeah.
Those were first.
Weird stretch. I would say it's pretty simple with like the media voting. The guys do these polls. It's like, oh, that team finished higher, and they bring back everybody.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like a mathematical formula. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when you're filling out NFL picks and you're like 10. You're like, oh, look at the records.
Exactly. That's all it is. I agree with your point about relying on so many guys to break out at the same time. In Dayton's case, I just feel Holmes and Smith are already all conference guys.
Yeah.
Kamara is a junior, really. I mean, he's already kind of proven himself. So I think they're more established than their years suggest, I think.
So in your interview with Travis Ford, was there anything he mentioned that kind of just took you by surprise, or something you thought was, interesting that maybe Billiken fans might be curious about?
I wish I could give you something really interesting. The interview was back in June or July, so I'm trying to think back besides what I wrote in the Almanac. It was pretty straightforward. He was pretty
how long speak. Was it?
Just 15 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe 20. Yeah. Him saying Perkins was fully 100% surprised me. ACLs seem very hit or miss, and I've seen guys come back super early and some late, and he said he's going to be ready. So that was pretty surprising to me. I thought he'd kind of take a bit to ramp back up, but if he's full go, SLU's pretty scary this season.
Yeah, he had a rolled ankle late in the fall, but he is apparently now full go again.
That's good.
So at least it was just a roll of the ankle, but
they're being very cautious with him.
Yeah,
I need to. But going back to your schedule, though, schedule's tough. I mean, that's an at-large schedule, though, if you do pretty well in the non-conference.
Yeah, I think it was rated by far the toughest schedule in the league this year. So certainly we're set up for that. But I got to win some games. Kind
of funny the Goodwin John Morant matchup tonight. Goodwin shut down Morant in the third quarter.
Nice.
And of course the Billikens are playing Murray State on Monday night. Go ahead, and just before we let you go, tell us, how do we find you? How do we find 3ManWeave? What's this Almanac about? How did it come together?
The Almanac is a comprehensive college basketball preview magazine. It spans 814 pages. It's 1,300 words on every single team in the country. Attention was given to all the low majors as much as the power conference guys. So no like Lindy's one paragraph on, Marshall or something like that. You get a full interview with every coach in every single preview. It's 3ManWeave, Field of 68, verbal commits, and heat check. So kind of a conglomeration of all those groups coming together. And it looks really good. The design team did a really good job with aesthetics. It's $19.99 for purchase if you feel so inclined. And our Twitter handle for 3ManWeave is 3MW_CBB. There's a link for it pinned to our tweet if you want to check it out.
And I will add, if anybody's on the fence, it's $20 and it's worth it. I mean, this thing is absolutely comprehensive. It's really impressive. I have not seen, I know a lot of other people, like traditionally there's been some pretty good almanacs out there, but this is like next level. Like you said, it's 814 pages. It's a heck of a file, and this is a nice write-up on every team. Like we see a lot of preseason stuff written about SLU, and as people who follow this program every day of our lives, there's never really anything new in there whatsoever. But when you take into account the whole conference here, what you've done for the A10, I think there's some pretty good insights here, and I'm a fan of this. So great work on this.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
And yeah, go buy it if you're on the fence at all. I know the season starts today as you're listening to this, but there's still a lot of good stuff in here.
Well, Kai, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for taking the time, and again, awesome job with the almanac. It is I can't, my brain can't wrap my head around like a Harry Potter novel of college basketball.
That's right.
So again, congratulations, and enjoy the opening night of basketball tomorrow.
Yeah, you guys as well. Go Bills. Thanks for having
Bills.
me. Thanks.
All right, Pete. So you've gone through the almanac, the Billiken entry in the almanac. You've got the rest of the evening to read 800 and something pages. What's your snack?
Oh, Zach, that's an easy one. I'm going with chips and salsa. And I appreciate the setup there. I actually just got a new box a couple days ago from 2 Men in a Garden. And I know I've mentioned before that my kids love when I get one of these. My son just walked up to me, by the way, a few weeks ago, and he goes, "Hey, remember when you got that box of pickles?" And I just and then he just started like giggling and then walked away. But yeah. So I got another one, and I did 4 salsas, 2 pickles, and one of the pickling pouches. And one of the things I wanted to try, they have the sugar-free salsa. They only sell it in a medium right now. But if you think their salsas run a little bit on the sweet side, I tend to think they do. I like it, but I think they do run a little sweet. Try this. I think you'll actually like, if you're like, if they could just take a little sweetness off of that, what would that be like? This is the answer. They're medium salsa, sugar-free, or I guess no added sugar. I don't remember exactly.
Tomatoes are packed with sugar anyway, right?
Right. So
I don't know.
And I totally, by the way, if they're listening, I would not be upset if you guys made the hotter flavors in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fantastic. It's the same ingredients, same texture, same everything as the others. It just doesn't have any added sugar, and it cuts a little of the sweetness off, and it's great. I love it. I think it's great. I'm going to be buying it pretty regularly along with the hotter ones, because I like to have some heat around as well. You can find this on their web store at 2meningarden.com.
I love salsa. God, I'm hungry now. You know what I'm hungry for though, Pete? I'm hungry for some Billiken basketball, and we have our first game preview of the year. It's Murray State. It's Monday. It's November 7th. It's at Chaffetz Arena. Pete, are you ready?
I'm ready. I mean, you're not going to be hungry much longer, Zach, but this is probably the hardest team to preview of all the teams on our schedule this year. Because like we said with Kai in the previous segment, Murray State is almost entirely a new roster. They return one rotation player and one guy who didn't play at all really last season. He might even be a walk-on, but like the 12th or 13th guy. So they're all new pieces, and that makes them kind of tricky to predict. New coach, new conference, new everything.
Yeah, first season in the Missouri Valley Conference after leaving the Ohio Valley Conference. It seems like a revolving door out of the Missouri Valley, much like the 2011, 2016 A10. People leaving, people go, or people coming, people going. Steve Prom, I have no idea how to say his name. Prom is back for his second stint as head coach. And he had to rebuild the roster after Matt McMahon left for LSU.
Yeah, McMahon took a few Murray State players with him, but they scattered all over the place after he left. The roster completely blew up. Murray State's picked to finish 8th in the Valley. Rob Perry, who's a junior guard transfer from Stetson, is named to the preseason all-conference 3rd team. So usually a signal that there's pretty high expectations for a transfer if he winds up on an all-conference team for a bunch of coaches who haven't really seen him yet. They've only got the 2 returning players, like I said, senior Rod Thomas, sophomore DJ Burns, and 12 newcomers. That includes 5 freshmen and 7 transfers. So Thomas hardly plays, but Burns, he averaged about 6 and 6 last season as a freshman. He's 6'7", 220, so he's kind of a tough matchup for us. I think we're gonna run into those kind of like traditional power forward sized guys this season.
The Hassan French, if you will.
Well,
a little bit shorter, maybe.
Not necessarily shorter,
or a little bit taller.
Like
sorry,
just maybe not as physically imposing. I mean, French had just incredible arms and explosiveness and everything. Yeah. And don't think that's who this guy is. I just think we're going to run into a lot of traditionally sized college 4s who are tough to match up with because we don't really have 4s on our roster. We're kind of playing a 4 guard thing again this year with a center anchoring everything. So we're gonna have some interesting matchups there. And then just 2 other names to draw attention to. SLU fans might know the name Braxton Stacker, who's a freshman from Cardinal Ritter. He's at Murray State. He played for Brad Beal Elite AAU and had a SLU offer at one point. And then we also recruited a guy named Brian Moore, who's a JUCO transfer guard on the roster, but he actually did not play in the exhibition, so he might be hurt. But just a heads up on those 2.
Steve Prom, he's back for a second stint. What I don't is this from the best Murray State teams in recent years, or I don't.
Well, no, I mean Murray State's been good for a while. McMahon, I think they had like a 30-31 win season last year, if you remember that. I mean, Murray State came.
Oh, they were good last year. But I'm talking about, is Prom the developer of the Murray State that we know today?
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty successful at Murray State. So he was there from 2011 to 2015. So just 4 seasons. They did win the conference every year that he was there. Unfortunately,
so this is a bit of pride swallowing. From
it is. I mean,
for a lot of people. So I guess for the AD to bring back a guy who left, and then I guess for Prom to come groveling back to the people he left.
Well, the kind of amazing thing is, so he left for the Iowa State job. And if you're looking at his Iowa State tenure, he's probably after 2 years looking like a pretty good hire because he made the tournament in each of his first 2 years at Iowa State. Made the round of Sweet 16 first year, round of 32, came in second in the Big 12 that second season. And then Iowa State kind of hit hard times. They fell off big in his 3rd season, kind of rebounded a little bit that next year and made the tournament again. And then in his next 2 seasons, they went 5-13 in conference and then 0-18 in conference. So by the time he was done at Iowa State, they had completely tanked. And that's the year they went 2-22, the year he wound up getting fired. But yeah, you're right. He takes a season off, does a little media, swallows his pride and comes back to Murray State. Now, it was a good program when he was there. It was a good program after he was there with McMahon at the helm. It's going to be interesting to see how fast he can get them back to success. The Ohio Valley looks a lot different now, with teams that he's in the Valley. So he's not in the Ohio Valley anymore. He's got the Missouri Valley, and only Belmont is somebody that he's going to be familiar with there. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can kind of return them to what they were in a new conference.
They just recently played an exhibition on the second. They beat Brescia University 102-57.
Yeah, so that's I think it might be I honestly don't even know how to say it. Brescia. It's a small Catholic school in Western Kentucky nearby there, but they're NAIA. So 102-57, it's not like they were playing a D2 team like SLU did in their exhibition. I mean, that's a tiny school that's NAIA. So yeah, you're supposed to win those games by 40.
And you mentioned their projected starters a little bit, so I think we can skip over that. What do you think out of this game? What do you want to see?
I want to see so yeah, like we've said, they're a tough team to predict. I don't know what Vegas is saying about this game yet.
12 and a half.
12 and a half.
I think so.
Yeah, that's about fair. This is a game I would want to see SLU win. It's a first game of the season. Anything can happen. I want to see us win by double digits is really what it comes down to. If we win by 10 or 11, don't cover the spread, I'm fine with it because I don't gamble. I just want to see us kind of look sharp and play a solid, not sloppy game, like that the exhibition.
Low turnovers.
Yeah, the exhibition, there's a few question marks coming away from that game. Can we keep the turnovers down? Can we force turnovers? There's some things like that. Now, given that Murray State has so many new players, this is definitely the time of the season to be playing them, before they've played that much game action with one another. So that's one thing, even though I think they have some pretty good players, that's one thing that I look at that, we should look pretty sharp against a team like that.
I think the only video you'd probably have on this team is that exhibition win too. So it's going to be a tough scout.
Yeah, it is. It is.
We've got an update from the NBA, Peter, and Jordan Goodwin had himself a triple nickel today.
Yeah, he did against the Memphis Grizzlies. Were you able to watch any of this one, Zach?
I watched a bit of it. I kind of flipped it on, realized why I don't watch the NBA, flipped it off, saw somebody talk about Goodwin having a night, flipped it back on, and boy, was the kid shutting down Ja Morant.
Oh, was he really?
Yes, he would. Jordan Goodwin's defense on Ja Morant, as mentioned on the board, they were right. His third quarter defense against Ja Morant allowed a Wizards team that was struggling to score or struggling to get anything going in that second half, allowed them to get back in it in the third. Unfortunately, they ended up dropping the game at the end, but Goodwin played 26 minutes. 9 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 3 fouls. He was a plus what, Peter?
Plus 12 in a game they lost by 6.
What a fantastic game from Jordan Goodwin. He just continues to do well for this Wizards team, for this unsold Wizards team.
He does. One of the things I love here is his 8 rebounds. It's just like, this is a vintage SLU stat line for him, by the way. But those 8 rebounds, 4 offensive, 4 defensive. I mean, it's just him creating chances wherever he can. And this is a game where, like you said, the Wizards struggled to score. They didn't have Beal today. Yeah. And he's going to be, he's their number one scoring option. So without him, to see Goodwin step in there, earn his minutes with defense, that's how he's going to find himself a roster spot in this league. Yeah,
there was a great moment. Morant's coming up the court, and he kind of has that I got into deep in the lane moment on a fast break, and Goodwin's recovering, and he actually, I guess Goodwin's footsteps, whatever, his pressure from behind caused Ja Morant to cough up the ball. So that was a nice little moment, I thought, kind of stood out to me. But again, great to see Goodwin in the league. Hoping to get my Goodwin jersey soon. Maybe I'll wear it on the show as soon as I get it, of course. Pete, there is some recruiting news out there. There's 2 offers for the class of 24.
Yeah, we've been active in this class lately. It's been about like one offer a week, just kind of a steady flow. Isaiah Johnson Arrigu is the first one. He's a 6'7", 190-pound small forward from Minnesota, Totino Grace High School and Howard Pulley AAU. He's got good size, 6'7", 190, but he doesn't look all that skinny. He's skilled, he's fluid. He's got kind of a smart, smooth, easy game. Nice playmaker. He kind of scores in a variety of ways, rebounds, gets up and down the floor. I kind of like his game. I like his flow. He doesn't force things. He's a smart player.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask if Howard Pulley had any relation to Randy Pulley.
No, Randy's from North Carolina.
All right.
Yeah. different part of the country.
Proceed.
Yeah. So his other offers right now are from Loyola, Chicago, Northern Iowa, Illinois State, St. Thomas, and Hampton. So we're in relatively early here, which is not the story with this other one. Peyton Marshall is a 7-foot, 300-pound center.
What?
Yes. Yeah. No. That's not a typo. That's a 3, not a 2. From Kell High School in Marietta, Georgia, and Game Elite AAU. And the reason I say this is not like the previous one, he's a very high profile recruit, not just because of his size, but he's massive. Load at both ends. Obviously, he dunks everything he can on offense. And one of the things I really like about him is because he's so used to seeing double teams now, because everybody's so much smaller than him, he's developed into an excellent passer, which is kind of fun to watch. This guy like kind of get in the high post and find teammates all over the place. Defensively, obviously, he's a space eater. He's got good length too, though, and he blocks and alters just about everything. He's a solid 4-star recruit. Kind of a fringe top 50 player. He's inside the top 50 in a couple ratings systems. And by my count, SLU is his 24th offer. So we go from being a guy's 6th offer to a 24th offer. And most of them are from power conference schools too. He's taken official visits to Auburn, Mizzou, and Penn State. And normally, Zach, it would look ridiculous to jump into a guy's recruitment who's got this profile, this many offers, this late in the game. Well, not necessarily late in the game, but I guess it is if you're that stature of a recruit.
That's a big boy.
But he was born in St. Louis, and he grew up. The first 10 years of his life were in St. Louis. So when he tweeted out his announcement, he called SLU his birthplace school, which I love. I had never heard that turn of phrase before. And then the photo he used to announce it was a photo of Larry Hughes. So I think he just kind of gets it. And you never know. We may have a shot here. I think he's still got some family in the area. One of the replies to that tweet that I happened to notice was from his grandma, and she said she had something very positive to say about St. Louis. So maybe she's still here and trying to get him back home. But anyway, I don't think it's an offer we would put out there if we thought we had no shot. So maybe we can get him on campus.
The part of the show that I don't know if I'm like, I don't know if women's basketball.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't tell.
Tricky one.
I can't tell if I'm glad that I didn't go because I was about to go. I can't tell if I'm glad I didn't go and watch this or if I'm mad that I'm not able to give a full firsthand account.
Yeah, and the tricky part here is that, like the men's exhibition, there was no way to watch or listen to this, which I had kind of hoped to do, but just didn't have the option to, unfortunately. Yeah. And you're right. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. This was against Maryville. It was on Thursday the 3rd, and the women wound up losing 78-70, Zach. And for a while, it looked like it could have been worse.
Yeah. 24-4 deficit in the first quarter, and
yeah, that's at the end of the first quarter. By the way, it was 14-0 to start the game. Is my understanding.
You're not. I don't know how many teams in the nation could dig out of that hole.
Yeah, even against a lower division team, but it's not just that hole. It's they didn't really start to find their shot until late in the third quarter.
Yeah, really helped the slash line numbers in this one.
It did. It did. The slash line, it looked like it was going to be really, really bad. It winds up being about 33% from the field, under 31% from three. And, they shot 72.6% from the free throw line, which is perfectly respectable. But those would have been well below three had the shooting not gotten really hot in the fourth quarter.
Kyla McMakin went 2 for 16 and fouled out.
18 points a game at Longwood last season, all conference third team heading into this season. She's supposed to be the Kaija Harbison replacement for Slew, the scorer. And this was not, unfortunately, this was not a good debut.
I mean, this is the weird thing, right? Because she's clearly not a freshman. It's not like we can say she's been overrated coming in because people have watched her play basketball for the last number of years. The only thing I can think about is this was a shitstorm of bad luck, a bad game. She ate some terrible fish tacos for lunch. I have no idea.
Yeah, for a split second, I thought, well, okay, here it is. There's going to be a transition because she's coming from the Big South, which is kind of a lower tier D1 conference, up to the A10. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is an exhibition game. Like she's playing D2 here. So we're still a notch below like the Big South. Like, even though I think Maryville is in one of the better D2 conferences, this is still an exhibition game. This is a lower division team. You got to win this game. It doesn't matter what D1 school you are.
You should win this one on talent alone.
That's right. Yeah. And we did see some from Camry Clegg, who wound up leading SLU with 22 points. She was 6 of 17 from the field, 5 of 12 from three, and almost all of those came pretty late in the game as she kind of heated up.
I want to point out, though, that there is a stark difference between the way women's basketball and men's basketball is played. And I'm sure everyone knows that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think this is the type of loss you would ever see in men's basketball. Because women's basketball is such a game of finesse and a game of skill and a game of shooting that you can run into lower division teams that can shoot the lights out, and you can be much more than you can run into. Well, it's much easier to out athlete somebody in men's basketball, I think.
Sure.
Than it is women's basketball.
Now, I mean, you still do have some exceptions. I mean, there was a lower division school from North Carolina that upset Louisville last week.
Right.
We know Fred Pestello's school, Lemoyne, when he was there, they upset Syracuse. There are some other examples out there as well of, these games kind of going sideways every once in a while.
But not on this level. This is off the charts.
Yeah. Oh, right. To just be completely just smacked in the face like this. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because that 78-70 score is generous, SLU, maybe had there been a fifth quarter, maybe SLU would have caught up, but I really don't know, given that they had 2 players fouled out, and I think they had 2 more with 4 fouls by the end of this one. Which was actually kind of one of the stats that stood out to me, Zach. 31 fouls to Maryville's 19. Some of that is obviously coming late, as SLU is trying to make up the deficit, but they were leading in fouls the entire game. Not great performance.
I think the interesting note in this game, the most interesting note, is how great of a game Julia Martinez stat-wise had.
Yeah.
14 points. 9 rebounds and 14 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists off the bench. Why was she not starting in this one? That's the question. She's your senior point guard. I don't care who you brought with you. Martinez sticks around and has been on this team as a point guard. No, she's been not a great scorer in her 4 years here or 3 years here. But you have to run with Martinez. I think it's a slap in the face for somebody who stuck with you when you came. She had no loyalty to you, right? I think Martinez should be starting. Unless McMakin's a point guard, a pure point guard.
No, the kid McMakin's a scorer.
Yeah.
She is like so. The starting lineup here was Clegg, McMakin, Brooke Flowers, who had a very quiet 6 and 5, Peyton Kennedy, and then Kennedy Calhoun. Calhoun is the I think she would be the point guard. She's the sophomore that she brought from Longwood, who was kind of going to be their Longwood's next. She was going to be their point guard for the next few seasons. So brought her over. She didn't do a whole lot, I mean, she played 19 minutes and fouled out with 4 points and
sounds like my stat line in CYC.
And 2 assists. Oh yeah, trust me. Yeah. I had no shortage of those in my day either. But yeah, so that does look kind of that does raise an eyebrow at least. It's one thing if it's a returning player who starts and you're going to make her your 6th off the bench, but yeah, to see her outperform the actual starting point guard in this game by that much, it's kind of like maybe you think Calhoun is the next leader of this program, but not yet. She's just clearly not there yet.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Yeah, I'm hoping it was something like you said, and they just had a bad day.
SLU had 18 turnovers to Maryville 16, so not crazy difference there. 31 fouls to Maryville's 19. 21 offensive rebounds that translated into 16 more field goal attempts in Maryville. So they just were not making anything.
Yeah, especially in the first half.
Yeah, Maryville cooled off a bit late. Didn't score for the last 6 minutes and 34 seconds of the game. Kind of more or less what you want to see from a Billiken team against Maryville. Points from the line, 27-12. And I think it might have been around 21-12 or 21. Maryville would have only had about 21 points from the. I don't know.
Before they started fouling.
Yeah, exactly. I really don't know what to make of this. I'm I'm now intrigued for tomorrow morning.
Yeah. You're starting with a road game against a Valley team, and that's the Valley's not bad. It's similar in men's and women's, where these teams kind of line up. I think the A10 men's basketball is stronger relative to the field than women's is, but still, the Valley is if not peer, then close. Actually, in women's, it's a stronger
it is.
conference. Whereas men's, it's flipped a little bit, but yeah, this is going to be a tough test. Indiana State was picked to finish 8th in the league. They went 11-20 last season, so they're not a top half Valley team. It's not like we're facing the Jackie Stiles, Missouri State, or anything like that. But
it's literally the first person I think of when I think Missouri Valley women's basketball.
She's on the Mount Rushmore of it, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this starting out on the road, it's not going to be easy.
No, it's not. And that is at 10 a.m. today. If you, we're rolling in close to an hour and a half on this episode, so you may not even get to this point before that game starts. So
yeah, turn it on right now.
Yeah, go turn it on silent while you're listening. Moving on over to men's soccer. Pete, a little bit of RPI flux for the Billikens.
Yeah, the RPI here, it looks like I'm going to see if it's updated. It has not, unfortunately. The men's have not updated. I guess they wanted to get the women's updated first. But as of the 30th, men's soccer, the RPI is down to 23. They were number 19 before that. So that's kind of a bummer that despite beating number 43 Dayton and number 103 St. Joe's last week, moved down 4 spots. I still think the men are right now on the inside of the cut line, but it's still kind of, you still kind of scratch your head a little bit when you see them drop, especially because they're back in the rankings.
Where Billiken soccer teams should be.
That's right. Number 21 in the coaches poll, 25 top drawer soccer poll, and then number 28 College Soccer News does a top 30. So back in the rankings, and they had a solid week, just one game, Zach, but it went well.
Yes, this one took place in the Wizard of Oz world. It took place in Kansas. What city in Kansas was that? What town? Did they
I
ever
don't
say?
think.
Was it just anywhere in
Yeah, I think it's
Kansas?
just Kansas.
All right. A 1-0 win at a blustery Herman Stadium against the 8-seeded UMass Minutemen in the A10 quarterfinal on Friday, November 4th. Fifth minute, an absolute beauty of a goal scored by CJ Coppola, Peter.
Yeah, John Klein and Lane Warrington got the assist here, but it was really Klein who he swung in a perfect cross, and Coppola was right there to head it home. Klein was back to his, Yuri Collins assist man days there, and just gave it to him perfectly. And surprisingly, that was all they needed in this one.
Yeah,
It was
it
really
was
it was really
scary.
it was both teams against the wind from there on out.
Yeah, it was, and I think for sure, St. Joe's. I definitely think I would have preferred taking the wind coming at me
Yeah, to
in
start the
the
game.
first half. Yeah, just the way St. Joe's played it out, and then
UMass.
UMass played it out. But it was a major factor in this one. We could talk about the stats, but nothing says more than first half or second half, Pete.
Yeah, it's kind of funny even to look at the box score and kind of see that little diagonal symmetry here. Slew outshot UMass 13-1 in the first half, and then they were outshot 10-5 in the second. So it's kind of incredible. You've got 23 of the 29 shots in this game coming at one end. The only thing, Zach, I would say about taking the win to start the game is maybe you're counting on that wind doesn't last for 2 hours.
Yes.
Maybe you go, hey, this is what it is right now, but if I take this in my face to start with,
What if it shifts?
and we concede, and what if it dies down before halftime or in the second half or something like that. So I think that's maybe the only thing I could see there, is to just kind of
That's a
go with the
great point,
W
actually.
now.
No, that's a great point. I think this was a game about who was going to be the most clinical on defense and who was going to make the least amount of mistakes,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
and
Yeah.
and who was going to read the way the ball was moving well and make sure that ball, when in doubt, get it the hell out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, on a day where we saw a throw in literally end up behind the player
Yeah,
who
the
threw it in.
ball didn't even cross the sideline.
Yeah, and this is like, I mean, these are like strong, in shape college
Yes.
dudes
Yes, he was throwing it sort of down the line to
throwing
begin
it
with, but
hard, and the ball just goes up and then back behind him. I swear I've never seen that happen in a game before. It was
bizarre.
like a boomerang.
Um, Shots on goal 7 to UMass's 4. Corners were 7-4 Billikens. Fouls, UMass had 14. Billikens had 7. 2 yellow cards in this game for the Billikens. Brian Johnson and Alberto Suarez. UMass only had 1 yellow card. The Billikens will host number 6 Dayton on Wednesday after Duquesne gave up a goal lead in the second half of their game, leaving Dayton the lowest seed, in the
It was
tournament.
LaSalle.
LaSalle, yeah.
Yeah, because Duquesne wound up beating LaSalle
Yes.
after LaSalle scored first.
Yes. So Dayton is left to be the lowest seed in the tournament, and with the way it recedes,
Mhm.
the Billikens being number 1, they will host Dayton.
Now, as a reminder, Dayton was ranked earlier this year,
Yes.
and the only reason they wound up at the number 6 seed is because of a three-way tie, and Loyola wound up with the 4, Dayton wound up with the 6. So it was kind of a funky thing. Dayton is much stronger than
Yes.
what, an actual 6 seed. They're really like a 3 or a 4 in this conference now.
However, the best performance of the Billiken season was the game at Beaujean Field a couple weeks ago.
That's true. That is
It
true.
was an absolute clinical 3-1 Billiken win. On the other side of the bracket, Duquesne hosts number 4 Loyola, and I believe those games will run concurrently.
Mhm.
Wednesday the 9th at 7 p.m. with the final on Sunday the 13th. Hopefully we have to worry about this. It's 11 a.m. St. Louis time.
That's right. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be a nice a nice morning at Herman Stadium if everything goes well.
Billiken volleyball beats up on a bad Fordham team this weekend, Friday the 4th, November 4th, 25-16, 20-25, 25-22, 25-22. Mattingly 6 kills, Lynn 23 assists, Rogers 21 digs. Saturday's game has an interesting stat line in here that I don't know. It confused the hell out of me hearing this person's name because I'd not heard it all season. 3-0 win at Fordham Saturday the 5th, 25-18, 25-16, 26-24. Welty for the Billikens leads the team in kills in this one.
Lily Welty is a senior out of Middleton, Wisconsin. And yeah, she just has not really been a factor in the stat sheets this season.
Yeah, I don't understand how, like, you control who gets the attacks, right? I don't understand anything that happens with this team. Welty 13 kills, Lynn 20 assists, Rogers 20 digs. Billikens have won 4 straight after losing 7 of the previous 8. Their final regular season series at home versus Duquesne on the 11th and 12th. Also, before we get out of here, gotta shout out field hockey ladies. Sat in front of them for the soccer game today. They were awesome, super nice. Get out and support a field hockey game. Just get out to one. It's tough, I know, and we learned. Well, I won't say what I learned about it, but we did get some clarity on the field situation. Actually, you know what? I'll say it. The Queens College head coach threw a fit about Sportport's turf, and so the game got moved to the college or to Principia and what was the other one?
MICDS. Yeah.
And to note, the Billikens started winning when they moved from Sportport.
That is notable. That is notable.
But yeah, any last notes? This was a massive episode, Pete.
It was I just want to point out to swing it back around to women's soccer. They did update the RPI already. Normally, I know when we record, they have not updated it for the week, and then we shut it down, and then they'll update it like right away. They did update the women a little bit earlier today because they wanted to have all the results in before the bracket announcement. And I say today, Sunday, so we're going to hear about the bracket today as you listen to this Monday. SLU is number 8 in the final RPI. They're right ahead of Arkansas, who they beat earlier in the season, who's number 9. Notre Dame's up at number 4. If that holds, if they stick to that, that would mean a 2 seed for SLU, and that would be a big deal. I would be plenty happy with the 4th 2 seed. That's not to say that's exactly what will happen, but it's certainly in play. And SLU, as we all know, has the most wins, most goals, the longest winning streak. They've got the best road record. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to slice this and make them look like one of the best teams out there. So hopefully that turns into a 2 seed for SLU.
Absolutely. That wraps up the week that was in Billiken Athletics. Follow us on Twitter at Midtown Mad Pod, at Peter is a tweeter, at Zach Miller MMP. We are closing in on Twitter to 900 followers, I think.
Yeah, we're almost at 900. Let's get to 1,000.
Yes, let's get to 900 by the game tomorrow. We're at 884. Can we get 16 followers? From actually nobody's gonna hear this probably, but they've already turned us off. As soon as I said that wraps it up. Unless they're hanging on to listen to the band. Follow us on Instagram at Midtown Mad Pod. Peter, I just realized it too.
Yeah. It just hit us.
So pause for the cause.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
All right, Billiken fans, sorry about that. Apparently you're gonna have to tune into the very end of this damn show to find out the winner of the 19-9 giveaway. Instagram handle TSteck3, named Tim Steck. So shoot us a DM, Tim, and on Instagram, and we will get your shorts and gym bag out to you. We'll tweet it out too, post it on our Instagram, but we'll do that tomorrow.
After we drop the episode.
After we drop the episode, we'll post it on Instagram because we know not everybody listens. Some people enjoy our social media content. Anyway, Tim Stack, congratulations. Enjoy the shorts and the gym bag. The shorts are awesome. I'm wearing them currently. Fun fact. We also appreciate any and all suggestions you might have for the show. Please go subscribe on all platforms and leave us a review if you feel like it. As always, Pete, go Bills.
Go Bills.